to play with. By the way, how long do we have? Have we reached our limit here or yet or not? Well, it's up to the rest of the crew here. We
Just keep talking. I was wondering, do you feel now that there's all these toys that we get to play with, all the lexicons and all the outboard gear that is available for us now in the modern studio, do you feel that you could create the sounds? Do you like this new the modern digital reverbs and digital delays, or do you like doing it the hard way, the old way, with all the analog tape delays?
Yeah. In answer to that, it's basically, like I said before, we were talking about digital and analog. I think the same applies, that there's great stuff in the new technology. There's no question that the PCM80 is a fantastic unit, does great stuff. Sounds, I use it all the time, PCM90, 480L. But having said that, my favorite reverb unit is an EMT 140 or 240. You guys know what they are? Plate reverb, pre-delayed, 15 IPS pre-delay. Still, to me, sounds great. There's nothing that, try to capture that with a 480L. You can't. But the 480L or the 380, the PCM80, PCM90, the earlier ones, the 60s, the 70s, any of the lexicon delays, and all the other competitive ones. EMT came out with a digital delay device, which was like an EMT. It was like a digital EMT, called it the 250, the 251. Have you ever seen that? It looks like R2-D2 with the big levers on it. You know the one I'm talking about? Great sounding reverb. So I use whatever sounds, quote unquote, cool, in the sense of does it fit the song? I'm looking for a vocal sound. Maybe I want a pre-delayed EMT and a little bit of 15 IPS slap, and then put that into a PCM80 for more delays or a room around it. But I'll use the analog and the digital together. Today the stuff is so good that you got to use it all.
The modern engineer is spoiled in
Yes.
the fact that they didn't have to go through some of the things.
Absolutely. What I would do in this school, I would ban all digital reverbs. I would ban all multi-track tape machines except a 4-track tape machine, and see how you guys do after that. Like 1 month of solid, like mono, 2-track, 4-track recording, just to figure out whether you guys really know what you're doing. If you can mix on that, then I would graduate you up to the next level. Maybe I'd give you an 8-track machine. Maybe. Go on in.
This is a quick question. Maybe it's the nature of the business, but it seems easy to neglect personal life. Any tips on that? I think definitely this is my main concern is making music, but at the same time,
Personal life? What's that?
You know what I mean?
Personal life is very tough in the record business. The road is littered with divorces, broken marriages, broken up with girlfriends, boyfriends. It's tough. You're dedicated to a life of 16, 20-hour days, I don't know how to even answer that because I haven't quite figured it out myself yet. I guess in a perfect world, as a man, thank you very much. I thank you, sir. I'll send the check later. I guess in a perfect world, have your own studio in your own house or barn or whatever, and go home for lunch, go home for dinner. That's the perfect world. tough one. I can't advise you on that, but you got to find an old lady who has a really good job and is self-sufficient, and vice versa. Yes.
Yeah. What I was curious about, I'm one of the instructors here at Full Sail, and we're starting to see a big increase in our enrollment here. And where my concerns are is, what is it that I need to be teaching my students to meet their needs so that they're going to be prepared for the real world when they hit it? Now, I can teach them how to tweak the knobs and buttons, and I'll teach them every knob and button on an SSL, but there's other sides of this business.
It's not enough.
Yeah, you see,
It's
there's
not
other
enough.
sides.
Knowing the buttons is great, and we need it because the technology is so complex. I mean, look at an SSL 9000, which I believe you guys are going to get.
Oh, yeah.
There's one going into Electric Lady very soon. There are going to be quite a few of them, and that's not a simple console. And you know, if you've learned on another SSL, yes, you could probably figure it out. You need to be able to teach them what you're teaching them now, which is the technology, how to handle digital machines, how to record, which I'm sure is, I mean, that's fairly straightforward, I would think. But what happens is, the moment any of these students leave this room and go out into the real world and apply to Electric Lady, we'll use them as an example for a job, and they walk in that control room and see a totally different console. I mean, this is a board. It's a gorgeous sounding console, but it's nothing that they can relate to. They've never worked one before. So the learning curve has to be like, bam, how do you pick that stuff up? And then you're going to be dealing with the clients and the bands. It's another whole aspect altogether. Those guys are tough. They're not going to tolerate any kind of bullshit. You know, you got to be there and know it all. You know, so how do you do that? That's why I was saying earlier, this apprenticeship concept, if there was a way to incorporate that into the program, I don't know if it's possible, but the School of Hard Knocks is where it's at. Because unless you've been yelled at by a producer telling you you're a total asshole, then you don't know, you haven't lived. And I've been yelled at. And then I can, you know, you continue the cycle. It's something that maybe we could talk about later, because I think that there's a way to provide some kind of atmosphere that's similar to a real-life situation by either A, inviting people like myself down to do an actual session so that they're under fire, and that there will be, you know, maybe an observer from the school, but myself and an assistant, and that's it, and maybe an observer, and you're not allowed to do anything except observe. You know, like they have those war game things where they have, you know.
Yeah.
So he'll take a couple of body hits, and he'll have to figure out he's either going to live or die by the experience. He or she, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's maybe something like that could be worked out. I don't know, but I really feel that it's the actual being in a session, and it's a paying session. You know, you can't fluff it off. That, I think, is where you're going to learn the most, because there is nothing like being under the gun, punch in now, and what happened? Oh, you missed a punch? You idiot. You have a big 2x4 with a nail on the other end. All right, we can address that issue, but I think that's kind of the idea that I would think of.
I've got once again another question. It really is kind of a, I don't know, it's not really like a personal question, but it's sort of a personal question. What I'm asking about is your children and your family, and I'm pretty sure that, you know what I mean, that kind of relationship is one that, you know, is endures whatever. But in your time consuming, I know that your job is pretty time consuming. How exactly do you balance your home life with your work and
get as much time off as I can, and in between you devote exclusively that time off to your kids. That's what you do as much as you can.